Hey guys, in this video we're going to be talking about radar detector placement. If you've got a detector, where is actually the best spot to put it? Should you put it up high by the rearview mirror? Should you maybe put it down low near the dash? You can put it, up on the middle of the windshield like some manuals recommend. You can hang it from under the rearview mirror. What about orientation? Should you have your detector kind of aiming up or pointing down, or should it be straight? What's really the best way to actually mount your detector? That's what we're going to go ahead and talk about. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you, those are basically the main locations, those four, and I'm going to give you kind of the pros and cons and recommended locations based on, just basically the recommended locations. So first and foremost, my favorite location is right up here by the rear view mirror. Makes it really accessible. You can see everything right there. You can hear it. All the controls are very accessible. And perhaps one of the most important things is you're actually going to get pretty much the best performance up here. Running your detector a little bit higher like this is going to actually increase the performance somewhat. It's going to give it a better range. It's going to give it better ability to actually detect radar. And if you've got, a V1 like this, which can actually has a rear antenna to detect radar out the back, putting it up high in such a way where it can see out the back window is also going to help its rear radar detection capabilities. So that's really handy as well. So this is my preferred location right there. Another benefit is that you've got typically a tint strip right here. My particular car currently doesn't have one, but if you do, it'll also help hide the detector somewhat from people outside the car, potentially thieves or whoever else, from seeing your detector. If you've got it mounted right here on the dash, it's really obvious to anybody who's walking by. Up here, it's much less obvious, and so, much less likely that it'll be visible. Also up here, if you run it, it's typically going to be less obvious potentially to other people driving around, especially if you run it in dark mode. I prefer having my lights turned off on my detector and I do everything audibly. And then I've got it set up where I've got my visual displays coming in here from my phone, and also my concealed display, which is basically just a mirror of the V1. So the nice thing I like about a lower mount like this is while I'm driving like this, I can actually see everything visually. So if I've got my detector's audio, let's say, turned off, or let's say, I've got the music cranked up, the windows down, the top down, I'm driving on the highway, it's just loud. There's a possibility where I may not even hear the detector. And so having the visual alerts like this are really, really handy. Everything is blacked out until, things start happening and it starts lighting up. I get all my information right here visually, which is very, very helpful for me. So that's one of the things I like here about the lower mount. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do that with every detector where you split everything, maybe run the detector high and the display low. So you're going to have to, we're going to go over the different options, the pros and cons, and then you can decide what works best for you, given what detector you have, what type of car you have. That could vary things up, etc. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the low mount. So maybe the second most popular mounting location, and this is what I do for a lot of my testing, is I mount the radar detector low on the windshield like this. Down near the dash. And the reason I do this is because it makes it really easy to actually just run the cable right into the cigarette lighter. You'll notice up here on my high mount, the cable is actually right there, and it just runs up. I have it hardwired, so it actually runs along the edge of the vehicle, runs down here, and then down into the fuse box, which in my car is down there. So it's actually powered from down here. This one, I actually have it with Savvy. So there's the OBD2 port right up there, and that's where it's plugged in, and then the cables all run right up this way. So it makes for a cleaner install. I really don't like seeing, this sort of thing where you have a cable like hanging down all the way. Kind of similar to this. Like if you've got your detector actually mounted up here and you've got a cable hanging down. I'm trying to back up enough to where you can see it, but I think that's really tacky and ugly, and I really don't like seeing that. I see it with like GPSs and with radar detectors and stuff, and so I prefer, whenever possible, a cleaner install. Like you can still see I do have my cables visible here, but I'm trying to kind of tuck them back and just kind of make them so you can see back there, like the cable actually tucks back up. So I prefer, all things being equal, having a clean install and as few cables visible as possible. So for aesthetic reasons, I like this high mount here with a hardwired mount. Now coming back here, we've got the detector mounted lower, and since I like doing testing with a bunch of different detectors, it's a lot easier to just mount it right there, plug it in, and no hardwiring required, just bam, really simple. The radar detection is going to be a little bit lower. Not quite as good because you're mounted low. However, laser sensitivity is going to be a little bit better. And the reason I say that is your main targets when you're getting shot by laser are going to be your headlights, grill, fog lights, license plate, front plate, right down there. And the laser is a very thin beam. And so if you have your detector mounted lower, it's going to make it easier for it to see the laser beam versus mounted up higher, where it's actually going to be a little bit farther away from the beam. And so laser detection is going to be better with a lower mount, whereas radar detection is going to be better with a higher mount. Now, the thing about laser sensitivity on a detector in the real world, it doesn't actually matter that much. It's basically just about a ticket notifier. It just says, hey, you're getting shot with laser and your speed is being clocked right now. So as soon as you're shot, your speed is read instantly. So there's not much you can do to combat that. And so that's why you're going to want a set of laser jammers. And so the compromise I like is I've got my laser jammers. You can see the controls right there. Laser jammers actually handle the laser, and I'll let the radar detector handle the radar. And that way I've got protection from laser and protection from radar. And so that's the combination that I prefer and generally recommend for that reason. If you're not running jammers, you could run it here lower and just kind of hope for the best, but yeah. So anyways, that is the lower mount. This is, I'd say, the second most popular option. It's going to be right here. A quick note. You'll see how I have it actually mounted slightly above the edge of my hood and the wipers. You're going to want it this way so that it can actually see past the wipers. You don't want anything in front of the radar detector actually blocking the signal and diminishing its performance. So if you've got it too low on the dash, where the dash or the hood or the wipers are actually blocking the radar detector, that's going to be detrimental to your performance. And so you are going to want it mounted in such a way where the detector can see slightly over your hood. So that's what you're going to want there. Now, there's another option that you can do, which is where you actually mount it underneath your rear view mirror. And there's a product called the blend mount, which actually, I don't have one here, but it connects to this thing there, just kind of grabs onto it, and then there's a little clip underneath here where your detector just slides in. I've never used one, I've never owned one. I've seen them online, you know, they sell them, they're pretty popular. I actually don't like them. Just in my car, I've got kind of a small car here, so it would block a pretty substantial portion of my windshield, whereas up here it wouldn't. I also don't like that it would be much more obvious and visible to other people. And the cabling, yeah, okay, you're going to want to hardwire it as well. If you go for the blend mount, you're going to either have this cable hanging down, which again, I find kind of tacky and in the way, or another option that you can do is if you do that and you have a mirror that has power in it, has like auto dimming capabilities or something, you can actually tap into the mirror. The power in the mirror, you can go in there. There's going to be a power cable. Where is it? It's kind of hard to see. I'm trying to find it on my phone. Oh, this thing. Okay. So this is a power cable. You can go in there and actually tap into the power that the mirror is using in order to power your radar detector. So you can do that. Also keep in mind, if you're running a detector like a V1 and you've got some accessories like a Bluetooth module, you're going to have to find a place to stuff that Bluetooth module. Again, I've got my Bluetooth module and all the different cables and doodads down here. It's out of the way, so it's not a big deal. If you've got it up here, you've got a little bit less room to work with. So for aesthetic reasons, for keeping things hidden, I prefer it not being here, but that is another option that you've got available. Finally, there is a fourth option, which I see advertised in radar detector manuals from time to time, where they say just put it right in the middle, right in the center of your windshield like this. I don't like this. I mean, I figure go up here if you're trying to, you know, not even for performance reasons, but aesthetic reasons. No matter what you do, that's going to be blocking your visibility. It's going to be in the way. You've got a cable either hanging down or hanging up. So you've got the cable in the way. I think it just looks bad. It's a great way to advertise, I have an expensive product in my car, come break in and grab it, you know? It makes it really obvious to everybody. It's not stealth at all. So I don't like that mounting location, but if you want to do it, fine, you know, more power to you. But you've got a lot of better options out there. I have actually seen other options where people have mounted their radar detectors like over here. But what happens is, you know, the idea is perhaps for visibility so you can see it, not in the middle, whatever. The thing is, windshields tend to slope, they're kind of curved, right? So because the windshield is curved, if you do that, your detector is going to be pointed off at an angle like this if it's lined up with the windshield, and that's not good. You want your detector actually pointed directly straight. And that's actually what we're going to be talking about next, is how you should actually aim and orient your detector, because that's really, really important. So Let's talk about actually the mount of the Redline here. Let me grab the suction cup mount and I'll show you how this works. Now, the way radar detector mounts work is they're designed to be adjustable. There are different styles of mounts, but they're all kind of similar in principle. If we look here at the Redline, you'll see, here's the release, so I can move it. The mount I can actually slide forward and back. See that? Now, there's also these rubber bumpers right there. See if I can get my camera to focus on that, please. Thank you. See those rubber bumpers? Those are designed to actually press against the windshield and give you an extra point of contact. It's for stability, and it's also for mounting it properly. So what happens is if you don't have that, everything is going to be hanging from just the mount. So if I just kind of stick this back on here, you'll see the Redline kind of hangs at this awkward angle. It's hanging so that it's actually kind of pointed into the sky, and that's absolutely not what we want. What we're going to want here is we're going to take it and we're going to slide it so that those rubber bumpers actually press into the windshield. And then we're going to want this to be straight and level with the ground. That's what we're looking for. So you're going to want the detector straight. You don't want it, you know, pointed up like this. We're not trying to detect radar from the International Space Station or from aliens flying around. And you don't want your detector also pointed down too much, you know. Every windshield is a little bit different. They all have a little bit of a rake, right? They're not flat like this. Some are, but usually not. And they're not totally flat like this. They're at an angle, right? So each one is a little bit different. So you're going to have to customize it for your vehicle. So you don't want it pointed down. Again, it's, you know, you can see it's pointed right into the hood and stuff. It's not actually pointed forward where radar is coming from. So you're going to want it straight and level. Additionally, you don't want your detector pointed off at an angle to the left or to the right. You're just going to want it pointed straight. And so you can see this one, it's at a little bit of an angle. Looks like on camera, kind of hard to see. In person, it's straight. In camera, it looks like it's at a weird angle. Whatever. So, you know, just take a look. It doesn't have to be exact, but the idea is you're going to want it straight and level. Point parallel with the ground and pointed straight ahead. That's one of the most important things. Now, you'll notice this mount is adjustable, and it has those rubber mounts like I showed you, right? Those little stoppers right here, these things. Not every radar detector comes with those. And one detector that's notorious for being mounted improperly are the Cobras. And you'll see the way the mount works here. It doesn't have those rubber stoppers. Let's just pull this off real quick. Okay, so the way the mount works in this detector, it's just a piece of metal. That's it. It comes from the factory at like a 45-degree angle, and in the manual they do specify that you're supposed to bend the mount itself. It is designed to be bendable. This little piece right here, you can bend it, and that's how you're supposed to use it. So you just put it in place, and then you bend it up and down so that your detector is pointed straight and level. Not everybody does that, though. And so what can happen really easily, you've got your detector, and it's basically just hanging here. You don't have that extra point of contact against the windshield, so it's just kind of... We'll just do this for now. We've got it aiming there. You can see I've adjusted mine so that in my car, the detector is actually pointed straight. And that's what we want. We want it like that. Again, depending on your car, because it comes at a 45-degree angle, it may be naturally pointed down. It may be kind of pointed up. And you're going to want it in such a way where it's actually pointed straight. Something also with that mount, because it doesn't have the point of contact against the windshield, especially with like heavier detectors, they can bounce a little bit because the only stability point is that right there, and if it's not as good of a mount, you may get some of this. So, you know, having a good mount is really important. But anyways, with the Cobras, this applies, you know, with every single detector. You're going to want it pointed straight, and you're going to want it mounted level with the ground. So, it's so weird. In this video, it looks like it's aiming down a little bit, but straight, whatever. Anyways, I like having most control possible. They say when you're adjusting this thing, don't do it with the detector on, like, you know, don't like crank the mount. You're supposed to take the mount off and then adjust this and then put it back on. So if you've got one of those, do that. If you've got a better mount, like an Escort or a Valentine mount, like the Valentine One, it's actually a little bit different. It's, you can see it's got two suction cups, and the detector has kind of the rubber bumper right there. So similar idea, where you just kind of slide it in. That, and then the rubber bumper is actually pressing against the windshield to give you a better, more stable mount. So again, maybe a little bit tough to see on camera, I know, sorry about that. But that's the idea with the mount there. So that's basically it. You've got a couple different mounting locations up high by the rearview mirror, which again is my preferred location for the sake of performance and not being seen by the outside world. That's, you know, something that I do like. I like it a little bit more stealthy. If you want Another option, you can mount it here on the dash, though you are going to have a cable running down like this, which I find a little bit tacky, or you can take the time to hardwire it and do what I've done here with my concealed display and run the cable somewhere back. You can see with my phone I've got the cable like this, and then it runs underneath here and down. So wherever you choose, it's a nice step to take the time and have your cables actually mounted well. But yeah, so there you go. There's a look. I prefer the high mount. This is kind of option number 2. I generally don't recommend putting it like right smack in the middle of the windshield like this. It's just not a clean look. It's really, really obvious to everybody else. And yeah, in terms of performance, best radar detection performance, best laser detection performance. Interestingly enough, there is a detector that's actually mounted in your grille. The STIR Plus 9500 CIs are good examples, and they actually perform really, really well down low in the grille. So, you know, all things being equal, this may be a little bit better. Maybe that can see underneath vehicles or something, whatever, you know. But generally the rule of thumb is a higher mount is better. And again, I like it up here, just a cleaner location, clean install, really accessible. But you're going to want to kind of decide with your car, like, do you have room to put it behind the rear view mirror because you've got maybe a bigger car? Do you want, is this too far away? Like, do you want, is visibility really important to you? You know, you're going to have to decide for yourself with your car and your detector and what kind of experience you want to have, what's best for you. But those are basically the main mounting locations, and the whole idea is, you know, mount it in a good spot. If possible, go ahead and hardwire the detector so you have the cable actually, you know, running along the edge of your vehicle and not visible. And then make sure your detector is mounted properly where it's actually straight and level. It's pointed directly forward and it's parallel with the earth. Really, really important to really give yourself the maximum radar detection capabilities. Don't cripple your detector with a poor install, you know. So there you go. There's a look at actually mounting a radar detector in a couple different locations, the pros and cons. And I was going to say a quick guide, but not really. We're 17 minutes into it. There's a guide at, you know, where and how you should mount your detector. So if you guys have any questions, please ask down in the comment area below. Otherwise, you know, click the subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.